Wow, that was the Flying Scotsman. Welcome to Partickhill Station.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Partickhill Station. I'm Charlie. And to everybody out there, happy St. Andrew's Day. St. Andrew was an apostle and he was a fisherman. He was born in Greece, and as the story goes, he made his way to Scotland and settled for a while in the town of St. Andrews. A little bit of Scottish trivia for you. I hope I didn't get you up too early today. And just please give me a check that you can hear me clearly. You can see that there are two people out there and they're worth the work. I guess when they found out I was promoting Scottish stuff, they bailed out. To each their own. Oh, there's another one, that's good. So you might see that today I've got a particular emphasis on Scottish Railways. What dog, Andy? How are you? And Timber, what you're designing today? You know, we should talk offline a little bit, Timber, about what you're doing. And, you know, what I was doing and the opportunities here and so on and so forth. Good morning, Tom. Hope you're not freezing over there. I went out this morning earlier with my neighbour for a daily walk. We walked for about 30 minutes around the block, and temperature was 0, but with the wind chill factor, it was -10. So it was a bit ippy and nippy on the ears. Yeah, thank you, Andy. I was just telling the story of St. Andrew before you came on. Yeah, okay, Timber, no problem. So I've been on these class 156. Two different ones running here today. There's the Strathclyde Liveried one and the SPT just passing now. Good morning, Lee. Yeah, well, that's good, Lee. We'll catch up with you later. No, 13, that's pretty good, Tom. Can't complain about that. Yeah, as I said, I may have said yesterday, 2 hours north of here, we got between 50 and 60 centimetres of snow. And that's up where the ski resorts are. A good place for it, in my opinion. There is a possibility that could be some snow for Christmas. So the SPT I got from Clark Railways, and they said to me it was a bit noisy, but when I tested it on the track, it ran perfectly. I didn't hear any noise. Maybe my hearing's off, but regardless, beautiful runner, you know, as is the Strathclyde one. Can't remember the story behind getting that one, but both were acquired at a reasonable price, and this is a Lima day because the EWS Class 37 is also from Lima. So the story with the Class 37 is we were in a town called San Clemente on the coast, about 2 hours south of Los Angeles. And I've done a bit of filming down there of the Amtrak surfliner. And you should go and have a look at them when you get a minute. It's quite interesting. If you're not familiar with it, the surfliner, as well as a commuter train, run from LA and even further north, all the way down to San Diego. So it's right on the beach. You know, you got to cross the tracks to get to the beach. It's quite a spectacular effect. Anyway, it was in that town that there were landslides, because if you go to the videos, you'll see that the cliffs rise straight up inland from the tracks. But over the years, because mostly sand, they've broken off, and it got to the point where the last 2 years when we were down there, the track was closed. Lintry, good morning or good afternoon. Thanks for dropping by. So at one section there was a steel girder bridge, a walkway, and it was taken out by the landslide, as was the track, because the ground was saturated from rainstorms that had come through earlier and further weakened an already precarious situation. And you'll also see that on the videos that the underpinning of the homes that were on the edge of the cliffs have been exposed, and large portions of concrete slab has fallen down, and those homes, some of which were turned into, at some point, apartment buildings. And they were all closed by the authorities because they were unsafe. Now, the track was closed for over a month. But the interesting thing was, and you'll see on one of the videos, I had just been at a Cars and Coffee morning at a local mall, and we had walked back down to the beach area to where the one station was. I started filming, and then I heard a train coming, and I looked south along the track. And sure enough, there was a train. I couldn't believe it. It turned out it was a freight train, and I think it was BNSF, and it was hauling. It was hauled by 2 or 3 locomotives, a fairly long train. And I spoke later to one of the maintenance guys that was working there. Good morning, Anthony Dodge. Hope you're inside nice and warm, escaping the chilly weather. So anyway, they spoke with the maintenance guy, and he told me that, yeah, they're running freight, but they won't run passenger traffic because we don't want any liability being sued. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, so that particular occasion, the maintenance repair crews were in there, and I had my drone with me. Now, I've got a DJI Mini, which is, I think, 249 grams in weight, which is 1 gram below the requirement to get a license from the FAA to fly the drones. So I waited until the beach was quiet. People walked up and down the beach all day long, and then I flew the drone up. It didn't go directly over the workers and what they were doing, but enough to see what was going on. Because I've heard horror stories, and there've been YouTubers and others on YouTube that have been fined up to $5,000, and they were, because they were flying the drone without a license, and they were unaware of this fact. So the end result is someone said, "Well, actually, I'm not flying my drone," and they're very restrictive. Can't fly over people. Can't fly above a certain height, which is understandable on both counts. And you've got to have a logbook, you've got to have a spotter. You always have a line of sight, etc., etc., etc. So very restrictive. Anyway, I managed to do that filming, and for that particular session, I haven't put it together, but you can see the one where the freight train comes through. And as I said, it was quite long. Once it passes San Clemente, it heads inland because it can't go further up the coast there in that area because it's kind of densely populated. And it cuts inland toward Los Angeles. Goes into Los Angeles Union Station, and then reverses back out and heads further north. I think it goes to San Bernardino. And it's quite an interesting trip. Morning, Todd. Good morning, how are you? So the subliner, we rode it from LA to San Diego one time, and then another time we rode it from just south of San Clemente when the track was closed down the way. Willow Creek, good morning. We've got a day off today. That's good. Yeah, happy St. Andrew's Day to everybody that didn't hear me. So you can buy a first class, business class ticket, and you get into the upstairs of the coach, and they serve you free snacks and drinks. It was really worth it, very civilized. but it's relatively inexpensive to get around there. Yeah, no snow, Todd. There's no snow here in Richmond Hill either. However, it is forecast that there could be some flurries throughout the day later. Mark Hemel down. Yeah, good morning, Mark. I'm just thinking about you this morning when I was trying to get organised. Let me just see if I can find something here that came to mind that I wanted to show you. Yeah, unfortunately, Mark, what I was looking for is buried somewhere like everything else around here. Mark had posted a question yesterday on his site on Facebook. He was asking for your opinion on two portals for the tunnel. And the one portal, to me, appeared to be like something you would find in a North American layout. It just seemed that was the style and geometry of portal. That was the one on the left. So I picked the one on the right, which is yeah, okay, Andy, we'll catch you later. Thanks. Anyway, I picked the one on the right, which I thought was more important. So if you haven't already done so, check out Mark's question. Built him out on his decision. Yes, I did, Mark. I'm not sure if that assertion was correct, but it just seemed to be that it was the right arrangement with your layout. Now, I'm just going to show you something. Now you're seeing my tenement building, and that's made out of grey card and black poster board with the roof. Now, that's a gable end for another tenement, and this particular material is, I believe it's the trade name is Fomex because it's like styrene but softer, very easy to cut. So I'm going to make one of these tenements here out of the Fomex. And then I'm going to make a couple of low profiles that I can stick in the corner. And so what I did was, and that's styrene. Now, remember, I laid out the front and rear of it, particularly the front of that tenement building, that geometry there on styrene. The styrene is maybe 1.5 millimeters, maybe even 2. Check it here. Yeah, it's close to 2 millimeters. And it's pretty tough. Well, cutting the geometry like this is okay. Straight cuts, no problem. But once you get into trying to cut the windows, it's a bit troublesome. Now, Boomer from Boomer Diorama, yes, Mark, you can, but on both materials, it's not a problem. And I've got a striper, and I will do that. And then I'll find the appropriate colour paint, which is the red sandstone colour, and I'll paint it once finished. Anyway, so Boomer suggested that for the windows, I fill a series of holes around the lined opening, and then cut out between the holes. But what I did was I drilled all the holes, and then I just found it still difficult with a utility knife to cut through. So I took the wood chisel and I chiseled it out that way, and it worked fine. The only issue was that it was still pretty rough, which means I've got to take file to try and clean up the edges before I move on with it. And then, with regards to Tom's question with the APT, and a couple of others had asked similar questions. Well, does it rotate? How does it rotate? Well, let me try and show it this way. You see how it's rotating there on the axle, and if you see here, yeah, and there, yeah, there. I need to turn it the other way around again. See how that rocks from side to side. I'm just going to put that on single. Yeah. So it moves quite freely. And So I hope that answers your question, Tom. I think they did a great job in Thomas's training. Good morning. Thank you for dropping in. As I always say, you guys have got lots of options out there. Because there are so many websites, so many layouts that you can explore and communicate with. And it sort of makes it, it's kind of humbling because you've chosen to drop in here. So, I really appreciate it. And as I said, always aware that others have their YouTube channel and to promote it. And, we like to step on people's toes at time. Okay, Thomas, maybe you can tell us about your surprise. The one question I have for you is when you're setting up your videos in that letterbox, how do you describe it, or what category should it fall into? I'm not sure what you use, but it'd just be helpful if everybody's using the same category so that we can all get the same type of exposure, or at least help get there. So I tend to go with film and animation, or entertainment, or something like that. I'm not really sure if they've got a specific category for model railroads, model trains. If they have, I haven't seen it, missed it. Yeah, so it'd just be interesting to know what you do. Yeah, thank you, Todd. Flattery will get you just about everything except money and my trains. Yeah, Lyndon, everybody's got their own way of doing it, or their own understanding of what they should do. Tags. Some people say don't put too many tags in. Others say, oh yeah, put the maximum number of tags in. And it would just be interesting to find out how each of you set up your own page. Nick Parks. Now, I have stumbled across may have been a grandfather, grandson, and they had done these animations. It was just fantastic. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was fantastic. They had animated the car and the bus and some pedestrians. So that, I'm sure, took hours and hours. And then if you go on to Dave's Scott Wales, he's done some little animations of people walking across his screen and vehicles going by. And if I remember correctly, maybe Timber would attest to this, that when I was working, we would do animations. We dabbled a bit with moving equipment in the movie that we would make for the project. And there was a software Cam 4 or Camera or Cinecam or something. Just can't remember the trade name of it. And you could manipulate people walking in and out the scene. But what Dave's got on his, it's really very good. It's really well done. So please check them out. So yesterday, last night on Dave's 8 o'clock show, I was in there waiting because, you know, I bought these. I bought these TCS decoders at Dave's suggestion. And he's done a few of his locals with us. So I said to him a couple of days ago, okay, maybe we could do one in the show of describe what we're doing. And I said, yeah, sure, Charlie, tell me which local you would like me to do. Well, his are all North American, so I had no idea which one to do. And I thought, well, do the oldest one you've got. It might be similar to what I've got. So I tuned in last night. Dave had awful problems with OBS. He had to, his cameras were dropping off, the audio was going off, and then he had to get out of it, close it, and then go back in again. And I'm not sure if he got it all resolved. But I'm not saying it's an inherent problem, but it might be an issue with OBS. Alan Reynolds had complained vociferously about OBS. I can remember that. He was very unhappy with it. So it's not a simple thing. And I know Anthony is obviously got it done back. With all these cameras and everything else. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. Now, Timber, here's an interesting story for you about Wallace and Gromit. Now, I sketch cars, amongst other things. And you saw that. So that's like a nice little card. You make it that way so that you can put a note in it. Anyway, so I sketch cars. When I go, whenever there's a car show on in the summer, I'll go to the car show. I'll pick lots of photographs and later I'll select some, I do sketches and I post them in my Instagram channel. And over the years, I've associated with different artists. 8/5741 productions. Well, that sounds aggressive. I'm really interested to find out what it is you do. And I'm sure it's got something to do with making movies. So you can tell us about that. In the meantime, Kimber, yeah, I would subscribe to different artists who do mechanical cars and ships and aircraft and all that kind of stuff. And then I came across an English bloke. His name is Stefan Margeran. And he lives down round about Bristol. Timber. I knew somebody would point that out. It's not prototypically correct, and the reason it's on there is I wanted to show it to Clive, because Clive was looking for one of them. But, you know, OSHA and all that, you being the safety guy, I will make a point of taking it off so that there are no calamities around Partickhill. And I appreciate you pointing that out. So anyway, Stefan Margeran, Marjoram. He's an artist, photographer, specialising in cars for the most part. And because of his connections, he gets to go on these antique car rides, you know, down to Brighton and over to France and wherever, and he documents it all. I'm going to ignore this for the moment, Timber. Anyway, so yeah, I would follow on, and then we chatted on and off. You know, he'd post stuff, I'd post stuff, and he'd comment on it. And I said to him one time, you know, Stefan, you should jump into YouTube Patreon and do a little show. And you might get some interest. So it took a couple of weeks to figure it out, and then sure enough, well, he set up a test show, and I watched it and then commented on it for him. And then he set up his Patreon, and he does a live sketch once a month. I think it's the last Sunday in the month. So you sit there doing a sketch, tell you what he's doing, what the car is, etc. And then he asks you to replicate it and post it using his hashtag. And I do it every week. Doesn't matter where I am, I will have a go at it. So the thing is, he was the lead designer of Wallace and Gromit, the lead animator. And he met Prince Charles at the time when he visited the studio. But yeah, he decided to get out of the animation. He wanted to do something new, and that's how he moved into the photography and art scene. Yeah, this is all great information, Timber. I'll make a mental note of this and ensure that in future runnings that I either make sure that oxygen tank is empty, or just take it off altogether and put a barrier wagon in there. Just as well, I didn't have an ICI wagon on there. You would have been all over me. But hey, as I said, I am not an expert, but I know who the experts are. And we all know that you are one. So, when I was down in San Clemente, I was looking through eBay, and this EWS Class 37 popped up. I think it was $50 US or something like that. A very reasonable price. So I contacted the guy and chatted about it, and he said, well, it's not running. And I said, oh. I said, well, you know, you've told me it's not running now, and you know, I think I know a little bit about how they work. Maybe I'll buy it. Now, I think it was going to cost $25 or $30 to mail it up to Toronto. And I said, where are you located? And he said, oh, I'm in California. Oh, so am I, as it happens. I said, oh, great, no problem. So it cost me $13 for them to ship it to me, and they got it within a few days. So I didn't have any tools with me, anything, but I think I had a 9-volt battery and maybe got a little bit of a sound from it, but wrapped it up, put it in the suitcase, and then came back here, took it apart, worked on it, and got it flying, no problem. It was just like brand new. The local is just outstanding, beautiful looking thing. And, well, I've had a couple of comments that Dino spotted it for sure, and he liked it. So it's going to slow it down here as it comes around. Even give you a close up of it. You know, it's got all the buffers, and there's no scratches on it. It's clean. And I was very happy I found that. And yeah, of course, I got this one here from my friend Faisal. That was $60 Canadian. Yeah, thanks, Timber. Really appreciate that. You know, when you watch some of the bigger channels, even Chadwick, and Charlie's pointed out, you know, he gets X number of viewers, but only a small percentage give him the thumbs up. And you know, I don't know how many subscribers he has, but he's got lots. But it's just interesting, the ratio of viewers to likes is substantial. But you can't force people to buy things. You can't force them to engage. You should only be happy that everybody takes the time just to click on it. And if here's the thing: when I watch on my big TV, um, I can hit the like button, but if I'm going to comment, and I generally always do, I have to do it on my cell phone, just the way it's set up. So when I go in and watch your video on YouTube, I'll immediately hit that thumbs up, and I'll have the cell phone open from your YouTube channel. And a comment. I remember John at Piccadilly was running something, and it was just amazing what he had done. He had modified and added to his layout, and I was sitting there watching it live, or I was watching it all the way through, and I'd comment and then post it, and then when I saw something else, I commented it and posted it. So I think there must have been half a dozen comments. And John replied, "Please, Charlie, just make one comment, right?" Because somebody go and click, 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 and look at all and acknowledge, and it's a bit of a pain if you've got multiple comments coming in at the same time. Difficult to keep track of. Yeah, remember I watched it, and I got to say, he's such an interesting individual, and I really look forward to meeting him someday because I've got so many questions. Very, very talented, and he can do anything when it comes to the layouts. And now heavily into the 3D printing. And just like Leopard's Tail, I don't know if you saw so I don't know if you saw the video from Leopard's Tail. It's all on his face, and he's done some terrific 3D printing too, and he's now heavily into it. And I think that's what happens, when you get into this technology. Timber, you go from one piece of engineering software to the other, and as I explained, those guys had to go from AutoCAD into Bentley software. It was a quantum leap. It's very challenging, but once you get into it and see what the software could do, it's absolutely endless. And as I was saying, it's when I first came across Blender, as I said, something slowed down here. I don't know what's happened. I think something's happened with the class 37. So just bear with me for a second. I think the safety guys get out with a red flag. I don't know what's happened with the class 37. Maybe there's a short somewhere. Maybe we'll leave that running for the moment. So, yeah, I was doing this, doing the Blender, took an introductory course on it, and subsequently, as I told you, the libraries here offer technical tutorials on all kinds of subjects. And, you know, you go there and you get a laptop and you get the documentation, and then Marie takes you through the whole exercise. At the end of it, you'll have something that you've modeled and created, ready for printing. But the thing was, when I did the course with a guy called Von Ling, based in Galway, and goes under the name Polly on YouTube. We never really spoke about exporting the file to an STL and then printing it. Because I was led to believe that the software is primarily for it was primarily used in movie special effects, not CGI, but animation special effects. But I didn't realise it up until recently, and especially since Leopard's Tail came on the scene. Like, yeah, you just export it as an STL. Like, ding, the light came on. So I'm going to go back into Blender when I get a chance. And Blender's free, and that's a bonus. So, oh, there you go. Yeah. See, Anthony was right on the money. Said his name 3 times, I think. Well, welcome, John. Your ears must have been burning because I was rabbiting on about how glorious your layer is and all the magical things that you can create. And now you're into the 3D printing. It just boggles the mind. But of course, it I guess it takes a special type of mind, a person, to get into it. If you're not technically inclined, it'd be very challenging. You know, when I was still well, there you go. Sorry about that. The screen just went blank for a minute. So as I was saying, John, yeah, for lots of people, it's very challenging to do the modelling bit, and you know, the software. When I was still working as a draftsman at the time, going on board. Management told us, okay, we're going to make a decision to move into CAD, as they called it. And at that time, there were two choices: AutoCAD, run by Autodesk, and Bentley software. So one lead person was given the responsibility of investigating this, experimenting, and then coming up with a proposal for a decision. And they did this and proposed that the company go with Bentley software. And one of the reasons he cited was it's database driven. So what that meant was, and this was the reality of it, I was working on a project for a mineral mining processing facility in Brazil. And we had an office in Newfoundland. And a small group of people working on it there. And we had just opened up an office in Bombay, Mumbai. And we sent somebody out there, a guy who originally came from India, working with a company here in Canada. We sent him out to manage the project in that area. And then we had people in Australia, in Brisbane or Perth, I can't remember. It might have been Perth. Who were working on the project also. So what that meant was, in Toronto, we could be working on the model, and the guys around the world could access what we were working on in reference. So they would bring in our model and then open their file and start building building a model onto that reference file. And as a consequence, we did work 24 hours a day, but we were pretty close when we looked at it. So, we had to get people, including myself, into the quantum leap from the drawing board onto the software. So there were classes set up with an instructor to help us go through the process of learning this new software. And, there were some guys a bit older than myself. Well, we were quite a bit older. We were nearing retirement age, and some of them were contractors. And I was too at the time. And they had to walk away because they just couldn't get their head around this new software, and especially the 3D. Because what you would do is you would build the model, and then you could, I'll show you, give you an example if I can here. So let's say you build this model in the computer. So it's a 3D model. You can do that. You can look at all, zoom in, zoom out, rotate. hope you're still out there. Well, keep getting pop-ups. Yeah. Sounds fine. Thanks, Timber. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, so yeah, it's always interesting to see what people are doing and how they're affected by technology. Maybe John Warner can pop in. He's on a tea break. Yeah, apologise about the sound. That's unfortunate. The laptop's just a little bit warm, but not over with it. Yeah, okay, John, that's great. Can you hear me now? Oh. You know, all these programs are popping up now because the system restarted. Oh, okay, that's great. Thanks, Timber. Yeah, you know, as I say, it's interesting how we're all impacted by technology and what technology can do and how it can help us and how it's an obstacle. And you know, Tony Northeastern and John provide master classes in modelling. And I can sit for hours watching them. Joberton, how are you? So, yeah, as you know, and I wonder if Klondike is on today. So, I'm just going to leave this here for a minute. So, I've told a story about Tony Northeastern. I was watching him. Wish I could do that. Wish I could do that. And then one day he showed me, or didn't show me, but he had a bridge that he built. And I thought, hey, I can do that. So I went and dug out my old trammels. I think they're Thornton, I can't remember. That I bought when I was in apprentice. And then I first of all sketched out the arch to try and get an idea of size, of what I'd be faced with. And then I went and found the best thing I thought to use would be mat board. Now, it turns out mat board is a bit dense. You can't cut it with a sharp knife. So I got the mat board and then I laid out that arch. And then thought, okay, so the top and bottom flanges should be the equivalent of 1 inch thickness. And the web should be like 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, whatever it was. And millimeters, and then I put in the arch, and then the ends of the bridge. So I've got that laid out and struck a line for the base. And I created a template that I could use to put in the struts and the diagonal braces. And I laid that all out. And what I did was I used, let's see, get it style. So I doubled up the thickness of the 2mm mat board. Put the posts in, cut them a size, and get the angle right at the top. Got them in place. After having glued the main beam together, which was a bit of a chore because it kept coming away as I would go around that arc. Moorman, good morning. Thanks for dropping by. So I was able to get the flanges and the web plate all glued together. Got the ends set up there too. Got that all fixed, and I ran a piece of mat board across there to act as the base. Maybe not structurally correct, but it gives the impression that there's something there, and you should see a fix on beams underneath, so that as the forces got transferred through the bracing system, they get taken back up into the main truss, and then back down here. So you get an end reaction, and it's every positive force should be balanced by a negative force. So you'll always get resistance to the force and get a balance of zero. And calculations you can do to determine the size of your bracing. Yeah. So anyway, I managed to get it all glued together, and then painted it and weathered it. I used some powders and some paint to get the rust effect in there. Got a piece of yeah, that's foam board, foam core, and then I made up some pavements and put that in. So it was quite an exercise. But I think I did that during COVID, and I had lots of time, so I worked away at it until I got it all correct. Well, and the other interesting thing is the safety fence. That is made from material that you can get at your auto repair store. It's like a mesh, and I use that as a safety fence, and then put styrene rods across there. It all works out really well. And I've done a couple other bits and pieces. I would like to do more and should do more. And John had a long conversation with me about my beam and post here, and we went through a number of decisions as to what the height should be, and that one's still not prototypically correct. I think it has to be a bit taller. And the issue is that when I put the Hornby station sanity in, I wouldn't be able to have that in there. So that'll need to go outside the station somewhere. That was a bit of an oversight. James, good morning. How are you down there in Hamilton, Dundas? So I haven't had any volunteers to come on. A couple of interesting discussions from people who decided to come on and have a chat. And Klondike was particularly interesting. And timber, I bought the beam from Scale Model Scenery, thinking I was buying the whole structure, and was disappointed when I opened the package that there was only the beam, the truss. So, but I had already gone through the process of starting to design it so that I could build it myself from scratch. And as you can see, the masts or posts, whatever you want to call them, I made them out of styrene. And from my engineering background, I knew it should be about this size, and that's how I proceeded on it. I bought the styrene channel sections and flat sections, laid it out, and then glued it all together. And so I thought it'd be a big undertaking to do the truss, but I was quite willing to have a go. And then I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go with the Scale Scenes product. Be easier. And then when it arrived, it's only the truss, not the posts. So there's another one that I folded up, ready to paint. And what I like about these kits, they're so well thought through. I take my hat off to the company, because they include a little jig that allows you to fold this over and then glue it together, and then it's in two halves. Glue it together in the middle. Really well thought out. So Yeah, you can do anything with plastic card as long as you know what you want to do and get the right reference material. As I told you, I want to do this Wilbur store in Glasgow, in Partick, where I lived. It was right next to the station and the bridge, which the train went over the main drag. I've got photographs of the original Wilbur store. And so what I'm thinking is I would estimate that the doors are 6'10" or 7 feet. The two main doors, and then I could go into the software, draw a triangle representing that door. Then bring in a photograph as reference and try and scale up the reference photograph and line it up with the door that I've drawn. That way I could trace over all the windows and doors and the facade. And then I can print it out, start the process of layering, as John would do, or even Chandwell. Michael at Chandwell is another phenomenal modeler. I love what he does, just incredible work. And it's all done in layers. So now he's doing that cathedral. It's at Bradford, can't remember. But, doing these art windows. Half a dozen layers of paper. Just incredible work. Now, I got this from Kingsway, kingswaymodels.com. It's a freebie. I met a guy who kind of represents him here in the Toronto area, and it comes with the instructions to put it together, and you print it out like everything else, and the end result is right in there. See if I can get it out. There you go, nice little building. It's a separate piece in the back to the trains, and you see there's two openings here so they can get a bit of light inside. And it's really very nice. It's a great little model. And they give you, I think they gave me these signs. Yeah, they did. There's a selection of them. And you can even have the ticket machine. You can even have the ticket machine inside if you wanted. And there's a canopy that goes over it. But I'm not going to use the canopy. What I'm going to do is, in Tinkercad, I made that sign. I just laid out the rectangle, and then I got the font and the text and put it in a different thickness and extruded it up from the base plate there. So I'm going to do the same with the subway, because I've got photographs of the subway that was around the corner from the station, and in fact now it's called Partick. The train is above the new location of the subway entrance. It's all integrated now, so that you can come off the train and go into the subway there. So yeah, and for a freebie, that's an excellent little model. And in the case of the subway, I'm going to try and build a model of the actual subway building that was in Partick, and do that. So all these little things to do, challenges. Never enough time in the day when you've got other things. Or just try and catch up. James is going to airbrush more parts to my retaining wall and bridge after lunch. Oh, well done, and I hope we can see them, James. Is it the retaining wall and bridge you built yourself, or was that kit, or what was the story there? Well, John Warner demonstrated it for me, how he built his gantries. And of course, if you know how, it's really very simple. You've got a top chord, a bottom chord, and then you put diagonals in. Quite simple, but until you see it, the challenge is, how did you do that? And John describes that in great detail. So it is out there. Oh, 3D printed. Well, that's good, James. Now, where did you get the STL file from? Did you or somebody model the bridge or the tunnel and gave it to you and printed it out for you, or did you model it yourself? It's always interesting to know that. So I guess everybody's too shy today to come on. Yegi or Yeji, yeah, there are all kinds of services out there. We provide free models. Some of the guys are quite happy to do that. Well, here we go. It's good to come up, Timber.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Just moving things around because Anthony, you must be shocked with all the talking that you do.
I'm a bit shy. I'd never really know what to talk about.
Okay, Timber. Yeah, thanks for dropping in. So, I know you're a CAD guy. What kind of stuff are you doing?
Well, I've made an entire range of basically small accessories for model railways, which I sell on my through a third party under the Tim Scale brand. The latest thing I've been developed is you see buildings that are partially built on a building site, but they're
Yeah, I saw
usually
that.
very nearly finished rather than just being started. So I've made a
Yeah,
range of 4 versions so that you can build an entire building site in various stages as a build.
yeah, that's terrific. I saw that. So I guess my question is, I'll take these off while I ask the question, because I get the echo. So what were you doing professionally as a CAD guy?
I'm really an electrical engineer, but I've been dabbling in 3D for nearly 30 years now. And as I was said in the chat, an awful lot of projects are working in 3D. Even the civil side has now gone over to modeling the entire building and physically planting stuff in the model and then pulling the 2D drawings out of the model for people to go and build it. So I'm very familiar with the 3D world, although primarily I'm actually an electrical design engineer rather than a mechanical one.
Yeah, well, on the projects I worked on or was responsible for, it was multi-discipline, and the electrical guys were doing cable trays and substations and all that kind of stuff. And I guess 25, 30 years working in consulting engineering on various types of projects. As I said, we ended up using Bentley Structural, and most of the other disciplines were able to use that software.
Well, it gets a bit complicated because most people, the most famous one out there is called Revit, which is an Autodesk product. But it means that you can take a laser scan of a building and bring in a point cloud and then build the building from real world dimensions. And then when you come to put all the services of mechanical pipes and electrical bits and machinery and so forth, you can bring those in from other 3D packages. And the basis of why you're doing it in 3D is to look for clashes so that you don't have a sprinkler pipe going through the middle of an HVAC pipe. So all the individual services that are designed by separate specialized people and companies can be brought into one place to ensure that everything fits and nothing clashes with other objects or glances through the side of them, etc.
Yeah, we use Revit, but not globally on the big projects. It has limitations. So the preferred company software was Bentley software because it's a really high-end piece of software and can do much more than most others. Now, in terms of scanning the building, we did that often with Little, whatever. There's a Lydell. I think Lydell was the name of it. We would scan the existing building, just as you say, in point cloud and bring it into the environment in which we were modeling, and then align the new structure and various components, disciplinary components, as you say. And the clash detection was part of the Bentley software. And the last time I put it into practice was on the hydroelectric dam that we designed for Manitoba Hydro. And what we did was we brought the model into the one environment with all the various disciplines. And then we ran the class check, take maybe, I don't know, guessing half an hour or an hour to go through, and then it would spit out a range of classes and would give you a snapshot of each one. And then I would just hand them out to the various individuals responsible and say, when you look at this, check it with your appropriately associated discipline for your area and resolve it.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks Revit is the all singing, all dancing bit of kit, but it's in reality, it's a management tool to enable people to do the clash detection and prove that all the different disciplines all fit together. But in reality, the disciplines have their own pieces of software like SolidWorks and DuctCAD and PipeCAD and electrical services. They have their own 3D mechanisms for designing their kit. So they'll pull the model in and use it as a background to design around. And then obviously, if they're all working independently, when you bring them all into one place, you can end up that two people have used the same bit of wall to put a bit of services on. So that's why you have the clash detection. Yeah,
as I said earlier, we did projects on a global basis. So nearly 24 hours a day, we'd have people in Australia, India, and Canada all working on the same project, on the same models as reference, and they each were able to continue their work using the same software, the same model and reference. Right? But the one great thing about it was we were able to report to the client, or at least give them a report, that piece of reinforcement, what the software enabled us to do was model each piece of rebar and put it in the model, and then extract the detailed information of the individual piece of rebar, and we could then track it from the fabrication shop to the site where it was laid out, and then where it was being put in place in the actual construct. And it would give you a percentage complete. So yeah, it was a management tool. Oh, very interesting.
I've worked with, but as I say, I'm an electrical design engineer. So rather than, I work on both civil projects and machinery, production lines and so forth, where you're basically sitting by the side of a mechanical engineer who's designing a machine in 3D, and then you're taking his designs and working out the lengths of cables to get from a sensor to a point terminal box or something from his model that you can then put on top of it. So I've been doing running alongside mechanical engineers in 3D design for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I went when I learned CAD myself, self-taught in something called TurboCAD, and the company I was
I'm familiar with
that. Very old software. The company I was working for had a company standard. They suddenly decided which was AutoCAD, so they basically forced me to get the software and to learn how to use it. So I thought, I better go and learn this in college and see, do it properly, so to speak. So I went along to the college, and the lecturer took me aside after about 3 weeks, and he said, "I don't think you should be doing this course." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, you just put in 6 months of work in 3 weeks. So I think you're beyond this course. I think you should go to a different course." So he redirected me to a 3D AutoCAD course, which I then took and passed. So I became technically qualified in 3D in the 1990s, but I didn't use it much after that.
Yeah, you'd have been an expert then.
AutoCAD is not really a good tool for doing 3D. There are better things like Fusion, SolidWorks, and the like that are far better for doing the sort of things that we need. but it's just that I've got 30 odd years experience in AutoCAD, so it's my go-to. And I've tried Fusion and I don't get on with it, so it got thrown in the bin. I think it's on my computer somewhere, but I haven't used it for years because it's just too much of a struggle to learn new software. Same with Blender. I tried that. It would be great to do, AutoCAD non-organic things and then bring it into Blender to put surface textures on and push and pull surfaces to make them more round and irregular. But again, Blender is such a different way of working to AutoCAD that I just don't get on with it.
Yeah, everybody's got their favourite, and the thing about AutoCAD, it's perfect for a small fabrication shop or mechanical engineering shop that want to do their own drawings, and that's what it was built around. It grew from there, and now it too is involved in the entertainment industry.
Well, it's still the go-to tool for 2D CAD. Probably 90% of the world uses AutoCAD for 2D. Yeah. But if you're going to do 3D, you should really move on to the likes of Fusion.
Yeah, or depending on the industry you're in.
Well, like I said,
Fusion is good for certain things.
Designing stuff in 3D in AutoCAD is actually hard work. Because it's a very simplistic tool in 3D, whereas the things you can do a lot more easier in the proper 3D softwares, it makes life a lot quicker to produce stuff. But it's got a different way of working, and that's why one that I get on with. So I'll stick to AutoCAD.
Yeah, but that's why in consultant engineering, the type of massive projects we were doing, there was a huge benefit to using the Bentley software, which was a multidisciplinary software. You didn't necessarily have to have individual software for every discipline, but sometimes with piping, they had to resort to an add-on.
Well, there are, AutoCAD do different disciplines, like they do an architectural, they do an electrical, etc. And if you're in that industry, then that's the go-to. But if you're doing mechanical machines, then AutoCAD is not the tool for you. Certainly not for 3D ones. But they don't make life easy. So if you work in SolidWorks and you then bring that into AutoCAD or Revit or something, it doesn't work very well. They fight each other. They're competition to each other. And although you can suck things in from one software to another, it's not very easily manipulated, shall we say?
Yeah, it doesn't translate. Yeah. It's also interesting.
There's unfortunately, no real universal file, if you like. I mean, AutoCAD drawings are the go-to standard for everybody in 2D, but there's half a dozen that are international standards in people's eyes for 3D. It's the same with 3D printing. Although everybody quotes .stl, there are quite a number of other file types out there that you can use. And I would imagine that the reason is that some of them are better. I know one of the file types, you can actually import colors in it.
Yes, it's constantly evolving.
It never
sleeps. You're right. It depends what you're doing. Some things will work to a certain extent, and then it'll come up against a brick wall and they can't proceed. So then you've got to look at another extension.
Well, it also boils down to software. STLs are comparatively simple because they're simply made out of triangles. But if you start playing with them in the likes of Blender and you put on like a rough stone surface onto something, the file size becomes unmanageable, and suddenly you realize that your computer is not up to it.
So that is the one limitation.
That's the same with point clouds. I'm used to. I think it's changing, but point clouds basically you can't record them on any media. You have to record them on a hard disk. So you end up physically sending a hard disk from one company to another because the file sizes are so big. We're talking, tens of terabytes for a large building. It's virtually unmanageable.
Yeah, I was in Stockholm from a cruise one time, and I saw a couple of guys with some surveying equipment. Now, this was in the early days of that technology, and they set up what I took first of all was a theodolite, and then I found out it was a scanner. I had a conversation with them about it, and the guy said, "Yeah, we were asked to do the baluster at the top of the building to replace some missing ones, and the results were so good that they asked us to do the whole palace, and that's what they ended up doing."
I think things have changed now that the likes of Revit can be held in the cloud to the point that you can run around inside the model on an iPad physically in the building yourself, and actually you hold it up and the model moves around with what you're viewing against the real world. Technology is a wonderful thing, but you have to keep up with the hardware, and the costs just go through the roof. Out of the reaches of us modelers.
If you have a look around my site, there is I've got a video in there of a presentation I did in London for Bentley's global competition, and I did this presentation on 3D modeling of reinforcing bars in concrete, and how I was implementing it on project, and then how I did a fly through of the generating station, showing every discipline's model in there. It was fascinating actually to see. So if you just have a look through, it might say Gowan Bentley software, can't remember, and it was maybe 6 years ago, give you a sort of time frame. And it's fascinating to watch. Oh yeah, Anthony, I see you're off to do your Christmas stuff. That's great, and work safely, of course.
Sorry, say that again.
I was just saying to Anthony to work safe as he's going out to do his Christmas lights and go into his crawl space.
Yeah, I hope he's got all the right permits.
Yeah. Well, in Detroit or Toledo, I don't think you need a permit for that type of work. Anyway, guys, look, I've been on here for an hour and 48, and I think that's good. And I thank each and every one of you for coming in and joining us. Always interesting to see and hear what everyone else is doing. And just a little aside on Crowdyke. I sent him a note on his Facebook page asking if he could produce that bridge in 00 scale. So I'm waiting on a reply, because at the moment he does it in N and HO.
Well, I'll sign off and say ciao for now. Catch you next one.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much for dropping in, Timber. And it was great to hear about your experiences with the software, both professionally and in the hobby. Always interesting discussions. And this is day 5 of 9. So we're getting close to the point where I'm totally severed from the paying version of Streamyard, and by that time I will have jumped onto something else. But maybe I'll just hang about the free version and try and work with it, make it work by inviting cameras in, or adding another laptop as Mark does in on his layer. Anyway, I hope everybody got some good information on the software and how it can be applied to your modeling as you move forward. And thanks again, everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, have a great Saturday, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Wow, that was the Flying Scotsman. Welcome to Partickhill Station.